Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is TowerGate day number 808, Tuesday, June the 11th, 2019. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today is going to be another one of those TowerGates that's for the archives, one that you want to flag as being one of the incredible episodes of TowerGate because of the information we have today. It's unbelievable. So let's go ahead and get started because we have a lot to get to. So first of all, I'll get the funny stuff out of the way first. Many of you, I'm sure, saw the opening some of the hearings yesterday with Jerry Nadler's House Judiciary Committee. I'm sure many of you saw Jim Jordan just absolutely destroy that idiot rat from Watergate, John Dean. John Dean was a rat, and it's great because Jordan pointed out he's like. Before they have these hearings and they bring in Michael Cohen, who's to testify, who is now in jail, or at that time was on his way to jail for lying to Congress. Here, they bring in John Dean to try to talk about Trump's obstruction when it was John Dean who actually pled guilty to obstruction back in the Watergate era. But what he did, he pled guilty to obstruction, but he did so at the same time that he rolled over on everybody else. He was the rat in Watergate. He ratted everybody out. He pleaded guilty. I think he was supposed to get some jail time, but he claims he never served any prison time. Maybe he's trying to mince the words jail or prison. I think he did. I think he was incarcerated for some period of time, not long, because of course he was the guy who was the rat in Watergate, rolled over on everybody. But he did plead guilty to obstruction of justice. And I think that there was a lot more going on. I think he actually got off the hook a bit. But anyway, yeah, Jordan just destroyed John Dean. And the entire rest of the people that were in front of that committee today were a bunch of MSNBC contributors, Hillary Clinton donors. I mean, it was a freak show. Exactly what you'd expect from the Penguin and the Democrats. My God, they are so desperate and so despicable. So desperate and so despicable. More to get to later on who's behind all of this. Who do you think's behind all of this? Well, William Barr, AG Barr, has responded to Jerry Nadler in a letter because Nadler wants to know what Barr is looking into regarding the Trump-Russia investigation and all these sorts of things. So Barr sends a letter back basically telling the Penguin that they are currently doing, the DOJ is currently doing a review of the surveillance against the Trump campaign, which he says is multifaceted and broad in scope. I'm pretty sure that's not what the Penguin wanted to hear from AG Barr. But AG Barr doesn't give a damn what the Penguin wants to hear. The Penguin better prepare himself for a lot more bad news coming his way. Okay, we're going to get into some things here that get a little bit complicated, but if you've been with me for a while and you've been watching my TowerGate videos, then this will all ring very true to you. If you're someone who just tuned in for the first time, some of this may be a little tough to grasp because you'll need to be familiar with Jonathan Weiner. Jonathan Weiner, his name continues to pop up in this particular thing. Because, of course, he was a key player, much more than we believed in the past. And, of course, he comes from two places, the State Department and is an associate of the rotten Reverend Clinton and her husband, Slick Willie, for very many years. Okay, so this is a story, and it's all over the internet. I just happened to pull the story from Chuck Ross at the Daily Caller, but you can find the similar story everywhere. Okay, so Jonathan Weiner was Christopher Steele's middleman that connected him to the State Department. I think we've already established that. And we're now learning that it was not just the State Department, but multiple private consulting firms. Keep in mind, Weiner, at this time, when all this is going on in 2016, is a State Department official. Okay? Now, prior to that, he worked for this public relations firm called APCO, We've talked about them before. And after leaving the State Department, he went back to working for APCO. APCO is a public relations firm that represents Democrats, the biggest, baddest, most crooked ones you can think of, including the Clintons. So, it was Jonathan Weiner who set up the meeting in late 2014 with an executive at APCO Worldwide, which is, of course, as I said, the international consulting firm where Weiner once worked before being in the State Department and now works there again after leaving the State Department. And he arranged that meeting for Christopher Steele. So he sets up this meeting with Steele to meet this heavy player at APCO, this international consulting firm which represents prominent Democrats. So Weiner is now the intermediary between Steele. It's almost like Weiner was Steele's handler, his State Department handler. Weiner is literally acting as a handler for Christopher Steele to give him access through the State Department and private firms that are associated with the State Department and Democrats and the rotten Reverend Clinton and her husband, Slick Willie. Weiner also attempted to set up a meeting between Christopher Steele and Mac McClarty. Remember him? Oh my goodness gracious. You got to remember him if you remember the 90s. McClarty is this really crooked character who was a childhood friend of Slick Willie's. Oh yes, one of Bill Clinton's childhood friends. And Bill Clinton brought McClarty with him all throughout the time that he was lieutenant governor and governor of Arkansas. He brought him to Washington. When he came to Washington, wherever you see Slick Willie, since the time they were kids, Mac McClarty is not far behind. And he's another Clinton-type individual, slick, crooked, devious, the whole 9 yards. He was, in fact, Bill Clinton's first chief of staff when he came to Washington as president in 92. So Weiner is trying to set up a meeting between Steele and McClarty. And McClarty, of course, he is a co-owner now of and has been for a very long time, of a lobbying firm, PR firm, whatever you want to call them, that does business all over the world, including Russia. That's right, Russia. And Ukraine. And keep in mind, at the time that Weiner is doing all this stuff, he is the special envoy for the State Department to where? Libya. Where the rotten Reverend Clinton is trying to get a hold of a classified document to give it to Sidney Blumenthal so that he can try to find this pathway to gold that exists if he can just get his hands on this piece of classified information that he's trying to get from the rotten Reverend when she's Secretary of State. And what happened in Libya? Oh my goodness, man. Do you see how big this crime is, my friends? This crime is not just one crime. It's not just a big conspiratorial crime. With the Clintons, there's not just one crime. Every crime is part of other crimes. They all lead to one another. They're all entangled together. It's a history. It's a complete history of crime. It's just unbelievable, my friends. I'm telling you right now, this thing is. I don't know how you even wrap your arms around it, man. At this point, at some point you got to hit a cutoff point. Okay, we got to stop here and just focus on the recent crimes, because everything is connected to everything with the Clintons. Every crime is connected to all their other crimes. There's just, you don't know where to parse it. Okay, let's try to stay focused on this part of the crime anyway. So, Weiner was the special envoy to Libya at the same time that Blumenthal is trying to cook up some sort of a scam in Libya so that he can get rich. And you can assume Hillary's looking for a kickback along with Mr. Weiner and probably McClarty and all the rest. The whole crowd, always looking for a scam, always looking for a buck. That's exactly right. Weiner also had contact with Glenn Simpson of Confusion GPS. I believe we'd already covered that in a previous video, but just keep that in mind. Weiner is also the person who put Steele in contact with this Mark Ginsburg. That's right, Mark Ginsburg is also associated with this APCO public relations firm. But Mark Ginsburg at the time is also the ambassador to Morocco during the Clinton administration. So here's another old Clinton administration official. This guy who's also being put being put in the game via Weiner, and who would have put him on to? Who would have put Weiner onto this guy? The Clintons. Everyone that you look at is connected to the Clintons. So Weiner puts Christopher Steele in contact with this Moroccan ambassador who goes way back with the Clintons, including serving in the Bill Clinton administration. And then there's a follow-up email from Ginsburg back to Weiner where he's talking about having met with Steele, and he says, that he had spoken with Steele, and then after saying spoken with Steele, he puts in italics, complicated. Weiner also served as a source for Michael Isikoff and David Korn. Both reporters used Weiner to vouch for Steele's credibility. All these people being plugged in, all of them former Clinton associates and current State Department officials, former and current State Department officials, where Hillary was once the head of when she was Obama's Secretary of State for 4 years. So here you see this conglomeration of Bill and Hillary Clinton acolytes, people who they've had with them throughout their entire careers, crooked players around the Clintons, and they're taking Steele and they're using Steele as a pitchman, and they're using Weiner as the handler for Steele, and also is the guy to vouch for Steele, so that Weiner can set up the introduction. Oh, here's Christopher Steele, introducing him to this person, and then Weiner is there to vouch for Steele. Now, who do you think's driving all this? Glenn Simpson contacted Weiner just days before the Michael Isikoff article that was published on September 23rd in 2016, alleging Trump-Russia collusion, which of course was followed by the rotten Reverend Clinton and Podesta and other people in the Clinton campaign sending out tweets, tweeting out the story and talking about Trump-Russia collusion. It was also Weiner who gave the Cody Shearer dossier to Steele, which he received from Sidney Blumenthal. Oh my goodness gracious. The Washington Times. Okay. This story connects to another story I want to get to right now, so I need to skip where I'm at here and go on to this next story, which connects to this story we're now talking about. Okay? Okay, so let's go to this story. Keeping with the Jonathan Weiner and the Clinton connections, here's Judicial Watch reporting from documents they've received that on January the 12th of 2017, just 9 days before Trump's inauguration, Hollywood producer and HRC Rotten Reverend Clinton donor Eric Hamburg wrote a letter to the Obama administration to see if the outgoing administration would like Hollywood to produce an anti-Trump movie. And what have we heard in the last few days? That the Right Reverend Clinton and Chelsea are going to start a production company in Hollywood. What do you think the first movie is going to be about? Okay, so Eric Hamburg wrote to the Obama administration to see if the outgoing administration would like Hollywood to produce an anti-Trump movie. Hamburg first contacted, before he contacted the White House, he first contacted who? Jonathan Weiner about maybe working with him after forwarding an article to Weiner, where the article, the Weiner article, the Weiner discusses Steele and his connection to Jonathan Weiner. Hamburg was working at the time with who? John Dean on a miniseries about Watergate. New evidence now shows that Peter's been stroking us and Stu Evans were fighting over the use of the dossier that was used to obtain the FISA on Carter Page. Now, we've discussed this before, that this guy, Stu Evans, was awfully nervous. And why is that? Well, it's because he's the guy who's responsible. Not Peter's been stroking us. It's Stu Evans' ass that was on the line. And so he's like, wait a minute, pal. This is my butt. It's on the line, not yours. And this thing looks shady as hell to me. So what does Peter's been stroking us do? Him and Lisa Page and McCabe, they go over Stu Evans' head and go to his boss and pressure him to get Stu Evans to approve the application for the FISA warrant on Carter Page. And what was bothering him so much about that? What was bothering Stu Evans? Guess what? One of the pieces of information that he was looking at was the Cody Shearer dossier. The Cody Shearer dossier is what was making Stu Evans very nervous. Stu Evans was in charge of handling FISA applications and was concerned about the credibility of the dossiers. The dossiers, too. The Steele and the Shearer dossier were both what they were looking at. So Peter's been stroking us, and Lisa Page went to Stu Evans' boss to have him lean on Stu to approve the application. Both the Steele and Cody Shearer dossiers were part of the FISA application. Oh my goodness. Woo! That is what Gowdy was talking about. That is what Meadows was talking about. That's what they were talking about. Now we know. Oh my goodness. So much for those 20 pages, right? Now, at about the same time that this is going down, that Stu Evans is looking at the Shearer dossier and the Steele dossier and going, wait a minute, man, this stuff, come on, we better take a harder look at that. At the same time, Politico publishes an article where they reported that they had received a second copy of the Steele dossier that came from individuals related to the Clintons. This is Politico. So here's Stu Evans. He's looking at this Shearer dossier. He's looking at the Steele dossier. He knows this is total bullshit. Peter's been stroking us, and Lisa Page and McCabe are leaning on him to approve the FISA application. He's saying, man, I don't know. It's my butt that's on the line here. And at the same time this is going on, Politico puts out a story saying, hey, we just received another dossier. It's coming from people closely related to the Clintons. Now, Christopher Steele had provided Kathleen Kvalik the Shearer dossier, which Steele received from State Department official Jonathan Weiner. In other words, he was laundering information. Now, here's Jonathan Weiner working as a special envoy for the State Department, former State Department official. He knows Kathleen Kvalik, obviously, because he arranged a meeting between Steele and Kvalik. He's got the Shearer dossier, but for some reason, instead of Weiner just walking into Kvalik and say, hey, Kathleen, how you doing today? Hey, check out this other dossier. This one's another dossier, very much like the other one from Steele, but this one here is from some other folks. Take a look at this. Why didn't Weiner, if he knows Kvalik, why didn't he just walk in and give the damn Shearer dossier to Kvalik himself? He got it. Why would he go to all the trouble of going all the way to London to get the Shearer dossier, with the Shearer dossier, to give it to Steele, and then make an arrangement for Steele to meet with Kvalik so Steele could give the Shearer dossier to Kvalik? Why didn't Weiner just give Kvalik the Shearer dossier? Why did he have to go through all this hassle and make sure it was Steele who gave the Shearer dossier to Kavalik? Because Christopher Steele was the man who was in charge of laundering. He had to be the guy producing all the shit, because he's the guy with the cred. Weiner ain't got no cred except for he's a friend of the Clintons. You know, Shearer and Blumenthal, well, they're friends of the Clintons. The Clintons, the Rotten Reverend, and Slick Willie, and Blumenthal, and Shearer, and probably a couple other of their cranks are sitting around creating all this garbage. They know they can't directly go give it to the FBI, the State Department, everyone else. They have to find someone who they can use, who can be some sort of a guy with credibility, that they can use him to be the mule to pipeline this stuff everywhere they want it to go. That's why they got Steele. He's the laundroman. He launders intelligence for 160 grand. Plus he was being paid by the FBI. Because the Clintons know that they can't send their folks. And then what? The Clintons going to send Blumenthal and Shearer? Jonathan Weiner? He's in the damn State Department. They can't send these people into the FBI, the CIA, the State Department, or anywhere else. They got to find a mule. They have to find someone like Steele to launder it for them. That's all Steele did, was launder intelligence for the Clintons, the Rotten Reverend Clinton, Slick Willie, Blumenthal, Shearer, and a few of their little cronies sat around, probably drinking a bunch of wine, created this entire fiction, and then thought, okay, now how are we going to get this fiction into the system? How are we going to get it into the media? How can we get it into the FBI? How can we get it to the CIA? How can we get it everywhere? Everywhere and everywhere. They had to find the right guy. And Christopher Steele was the guy. Now, Mr. Durham and Mr. Barr probably already have figured this out. That's why they want to talk to Steele. And I will be willing to bet that when they talk to Steele, this is the direction they want their questions to go in. They have probably sniffed out Steele and figured out, wait a minute, Steele, this guy wasn't researching anything. This guy wasn't putting together anything. This guy was too busy running around talking to media people, visiting with State Department people. He was too busy spreading the dossier to have been the guy putting it together. This guy, every time you turn around, he's just talking to people, telling people what he's got. There's no records of any investigation on behalf of Steele. There's no records. He said the sources came to him from collectors and intermediaries, brought the information to him. Exactly. Friends of Hillary, Blumenthal, Shearer, Weiner, the Clinton cronies. They're the ones feeding Steele. There were no Russians. There were no Russians. There were some Ukrainians. Oh, yes, there was Ukrainians. Not Russians. And there was really friends of the Rotten Reverend. Cooked this entire plot up, man. Oh, my God. The dossier, both of them, Shearer and Steele dossier, are complete bullshit. One and the same, written by the same group. Spun off in two different directions. The Rotten Reverend Clinton and her little cronies. The Shearer Steele dossiers were created by the Rotten Reverend Clinton and her little cronies. Slick Willie, Blumenthal, Shearer. This was all a manufactured sham by Slick Willie, the Rotten Reverend, and their cronies. Do you think Barr's figured this out yet? Do you think Durham's figured it out yet? Go back and watch TowerGate Day 3. In fact, I don't even think it was even called TowerGate back then. It was my third video. Just before I started calling it TowerGate. Somewhere in that fourth video, I started calling it TowerGate. The first three videos, I don't think I was calling it TowerGate. But I think it was the third video where I said, you know what? This is a damn Clinton operation. This is a Clinton operation. About 805 videos ago, probably somewhere around March 9th or March 10th of 2017, I said, this is a Rotten Reverend Clinton situation right here. It's what it is. Rotten Reverend Clinton operation. She planned, directed, organized, and controlled this entire thing. What do you think is going to happen when Bill Barr and Mr. Durham finally get all their shit together and they sit there and they look at it all and they go, oh my God, this was a Hillary Clinton operation. Bill and Hillary. And these two scumbags, Shearer and Blumenthal, who everybody in Washington knows. This was just a Hillary Clinton political campaign dirty trick. That's all it was. And she hired a couple intermediaries to pump the shit all over the damn world. Through the FBI, through the CIA, through the State Department, everywhere. This was nothing more than a little home cooking in Hillary's kitchen with Slick Willie, Shearer. Oh my God. Just wait till they figure, wait till the rest of the world. You know what? Think about this. We're on the inside, folks. We now know this. I've been saying it for a long time, but now this is all I need. This is all I needed right here. Well, I'm now I was 98% sure, now I'm 100% sure. This was a Slick Willie and Hillary operation with a couple of their little cronies. That's what this was. A political dirty trick, the October surprise. That's exactly what it was. Just imagine when Barr and Durham figured it out. Just imagine when all the rest of Congress figures it out. Just imagine when the news media has no choice but to report on exactly what this was. And just think about what history is going to report when this is all cooked out. This is going to take probably 3 to 5 years to sort this thing out. It's complex, man. It's a web of deceit, lies, deception. And it's going to take a while to sort this thing out. And I said before there will be 2 to 3 dozen people going to jail. No, I take that back. This thing is going to take 2 minimum, maybe as long as 5 years to completely unravel. There will be, I would think now, probably maybe in triple digits, people going to jail or people being cited for crimes, charged with crimes, people admitting to crimes, pleading guilty. This is going to involve many, many dozens and dozens of people, including a lot of high-level people. And when it's all said and done, the grand title of the story will be how the rotten Reverend Clinton and her crooked, accused rapist husband, Slick Willie, and a couple of their cronies cooked up this plot in Hillary's kitchen and dropped it on the world. That's the freaking tagline of this story. Take it to the bank. Do you know how pissed John Kerry's going to be? Here's John Kerry. John F. Kerry, by the way, who did serve in Vietnam. Here he is. Hillary serves the first 4 years as Obama's State Department, head of the State Department. Then she goes to take off after 4 years to run for president. And that leaves Kerry. He steps in. So Kerry is just traveling around being the idiot that he is, being the dupe that he is, cutting horrible deals with Iran, kissing ass all over the planet, apologizing all over the planet. At the meantime, the rotten Reverend Clinton is using a bunch of his people to push her plot. Do you think? Now, so that means, in other words, Kerry is going to be caught up in this big time because he handled the dossier. He handled both of them, the Steele and the Shearer dossiers. He passed them along. He's complicit. How pissed is John Kerry going to be when he finds out that the rotten Reverend Clinton was doing all this stuff in his State Department, using all his people, and in fact, even got him involved in it? Boy, he's going to be pissed. Everybody's going to be pissed at the rotten Reverend. Former rotten Reverend Clinton campaign aide Peter Daou, D-A-O-U, who led the digital operations for the rotten Reverend Clinton campaign in 2008, is now threatening to challenge Jerry Nadler, the Penguin, for his seat in Congress if he doesn't go forward with impeachment hearings. Okay. Okay, we have a close associate and another one of the Clinton acolytes now being the guy who's pressuring the hell out of Nadler to move forward with the impeachment hearings, or else he's going to challenge Jerry, the Penguin, in his district for his seat. So who's behind this hard push for impeachment? I'm thinking the rotten Reverend. What do you think? Well, here's one of her right-hand men, former campaign aide Peter Daou, is threatening to challenge Jerry Nadler for his seat if he doesn't go forward with impeachment hearings. Now, how pissed off is Nancy Pelosi? Now, keep in mind, Pelosi and Hillary Clinton are like oil and water. They have never, ever gotten along. They never have much nice to say about each other. You'll never see one campaigning for the other or even saying anything good about the other. I think there's some jealousy there. Some jealousy there. I think Pelosi slept with JFK and Hillary didn't. Hillary was kind of ugly, though, when she was, that age. I don't know about Nancy. I've never seen a pic from those days. But let's try to understand what's going on here. The entire impeachment thing, the entire coup plot, the entire thing, not just what went on during the election to try to keep Trump from winning, but since Trump won, this impeachment, all this stuff's being pushed. Where is it coming from? It's not good for the Democrats. They know it's not good for the Democrats. It's bad for them. But why are they under so much pressure? Why do they keep pushing and pushing? They know the speaker, their own speaker, Pelosi, is opposed to it and is trying to calm them down. She's saying, look, this is a loser. It is a loser. Who keeps pushing it? Nancy Pelosi knows who's pushing it. She knows where the pressure's coming from. She knows who's pushing the impeachment angle from beyond the shadows. She knows exactly who it is. It's the rotten Reverend. Why is the rotten Reverend so aggressive now? I mean, obviously she had to cover up lots of crimes. That's what worried her about Trump winning. And then once he won, she had to push the coup because she knows that if Trump ever gets an honest attorney general who investigates things, he'll find all the crimes from the Clinton Foundation, Uranium One, maybe even crimes going back before that, pay for play. Now she launched her biggest crime ever, a coup d'etat against the sitting president after launching her Dirty Tricks campaign for her October surprise, which did not pan out. The rotten Reverend Clinton, she is literally behind the entire damn thing. Everything that we see, that we're talking about, from the coup to the original campaign plot that failed, the push for impeachment now, every bit of this is being fomented by the rotten Reverend Clinton and her acolytes. People who owe her, people who she's got a lot of dirt on. People don't act on behalf of the Clintons because they love them. They act on behalf of the Clintons because the Clintons fear them. You think that Hillary doesn't call these people up and say, hey, I was just looking through your file. It's pretty bad. I was thinking about dropping it. But you could do me a favor, and me and Slick will put it back in the cabinet. Here's what I need. Make it happen. That's the Clintons, my friends. I've been watching them for years. They're a mafia. They are a freaking mafia. And Pelosi knows it. And Nadler knows it. Obama knows it. That's why he keeps his distance from the Clintons. Obama keeps his distance from the Clintons. These people are dirt, man. These people are dirt. Kerry's caught up in it. Pelosi's now getting run through the spin cycle, trying to fight off all this stuff while it's the rotten Reverend Clinton in the background pushing it. I wouldn't be, will Pelosi have the stones to call Hillary and say, hey, I'm running this damn Congress. You're pushing us over the cliff. Stop it. I don't think so. I don't think so. Unbelievable. The Biden campaign, they want to know who's pushing the rumors about Biden. Who's pushing the rumors about Joe Biden having health issues? Who do you think is behind pushing the rumors that Joe Biden has health issues? Anybody want to take a guess? Who do you think is pushing the rumors that that Biden is having health issues? Gee, I wonder who that could be. I'll let you figure it out. By the way, there's a possibility I am going to have to go on a business one-day junket again tomorrow. If so, I wouldn't be doing a video because I won't get home till after midnight probably. So if there's not a video on Wednesday, do not panic. The deep state hasn't taken me out. It just means I had to go on a one-day business junket. Hopefully that won't happen and I'll be back with you on Wednesday. But in the event that that doesn't happen, it just means that sometimes my job takes me out of town. So, hope to see you back on Wednesday. A lot to chew on here. Dig in. You guys have a good night. See ya. Bye.